this council meeting to order. At this time, I ask that we all stand, and Mike Kelly will lead us in a pledge of allegiance followed by a prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now observe a moment of silence. Madam Mayor, ministers.
Thank you, Mike. Mary, if you would please call roll.
Kelly,
Here.
Beach,
Here.
Livingston,
Here.
Carter,
Here.
Ehlers,
Here.
Heaton,
Here.
Young.
Here.
Thank you very much. Hearing of citizens' comments. This is your time when you can go to the podium if you are here and have something that you would like to address the council about this evening. You have 5 minutes. Seeing none, we will move along to approval of the minutes of the October 21st, 2013 council meeting. They were in your packet and you've had an opportunity to read those. Are there any additions or corrections or questions? Seeing none, they'll stand as presented. Consent items. We have 2 consent items this evening. Do I hear a motion? Morris.
Mayor, I make a motion these be approved.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mark?
Second.
Reminder to raise your hands. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Kelly,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Ehlers,
Yes.
Heaton,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Presentation of accounts and claims. Mary, when you're ready.
Ordinance appropriating money. Be it ordained by the Council of the City of Boonville as follows. Section 1, for the purpose of paying salaries and various accounts against the City of Boonville, which have been allowed by the Council at the regular meeting thereof on November 4th, 2013, the sum of $658,908.98. General Fund, $239,470.11. Sanitation, $28,161.14. CIP tax, $120,922.54. Waterworks, $109,147.73. Capital projects, $40,160.88. Wastewater, $55,613.52. Tourism, $4,989.79. Gaming, $60,443.27. Parks and Water, 0. Section 2, the bookkeeper is hereby authorized and instructed to draw checks on the respective city bank accounts in favor of the persons whose salaries and accounts have been allowed as above, amounting to $658,908.98, being the total amount of money above appropriated. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage. First reading on November 4th, 2013. Read for the second time this 4th day of November 2013, since a copy was made available prior to the meeting.
Second reading, title only.
Ordinance appropriating money.
Mark?
Mayor, I move we approve this ordinance.
Morris?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Roll call.
Kelly,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Ehlers,
Yes.
Heaton,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Unfinished business, we have none this evening. New business, item A, first reading of bill number 2013-031, establishing a stop sign on Harley Street at Parkway Drive.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, establishing a stop sign on Harley Street at Parkway Drive, providing an effective date thereof, and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
Okay. Item B, Katy Bridge Coalition Financial Update. Paula Shannon, the Executive Director of the Katy Bridge Coalition, is here this evening, and I believe she also has some other folks with her. And so, Paula, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you, Julie, for having us. We have new board members and also officers that I would like to introduce just so that the council can become familiar with maybe some faces that you've not seen recently or have not had a formal introduction to. I apologize that everyone is not here. We had short notice and too many conflicts going on, but I think we have enough to give you a sampling of. And as the year progresses, we'll try to get more and more of the board members here at different times so that you can get to know them well. For officers, our president for the Save the Katy Bridge Coalition is Sarah Gallagher. Sarah, could you raise your hand? Stand up or something so we can find you there. And our vice president is Darwin Heineman from Columbia, retired mayor, very much involved with the Katy Trail, and he was unable to be with us tonight. Gives his apologies. But we feel very fortunate to have his expertise in regards as we're looking at the bridge in relationship to the trail. Secretary Dick Blank gets all of our information out for us and does a wonderful job of keeping us organized and focused. So, treasurer, and Ken was unable to be here tonight, and that's Ken Askin is our treasurer. Have also board members that are sitting together, and that is Gail Klusmeyer. I call her our professional volunteer. She is a certified teacher and speech pathologist. She volunteers at the middle school to work with children, and so I would say she definitely is an expert that is sharing her knowledge in multiple places. We're glad to have her on board with us.
Paula, excuse me, if you could talk into the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
People complain that they can't hear.
Can't
at
hear
all.
me? Okay, I apologize.
That's okay.
I can hear me.
I'm sorry to interrupt, yeah. We can hear you.
Now that I'm to almost the end.
Yeah.
Dave, would you raise your hand? Dave Smith, and we call him our logistics executive. He has a lot of experience in the business world, and particularly on getting things organized and timely. And Wayne Lammers, who is, as all of you know, is the audiovisual man of Boonville. So we are very happy to have him on board because of the documentations that I think he can do an ongoing running record of as things unfold with the Katy Bridge. So a big welcome to the folks, and thank you for making an effort for getting here tonight. And then other board members that were not able to be here. One is Baron Fuller from the Isle of Capri, the CEO of the Isle of Capri. And one of the main reasons for having him on the board is he's our neighbor to the bridge. And I think it's very important that neighbors talk as things are starting to change around you. And we feel, again, he's a very busy man. He's down in southern Missouri right now opening a new casino, but will be back here with us. Jim Steele, who is a retired editor of the Fayette Advertiser and longtime Howard County resident. We're feeling this bridge represents both Cooper and Howard County, and we need to make sure that we're keeping those conversations going to keep people informed on both sides of the river, but also to keep them involved so that the legacy of the bridge continues on in generations to come. Ted Curtis has joined us. He was the executive director of the Chain of Rocks Bridge, and those of you that maybe have been on the council long enough remember he actually has been here twice to speak to the council about a city taking the city of Madison, took ownership of the Chain of Rocks Bridge, and then the process they went through on how they did the development. It was an old bridge that was going to be torn down that was over a mile long going across the Mississippi River. If you haven't been down to see it, it's worth a family trip. Jim Bradshaw, who was actually a bridge tender, and he in turn has lots of stories, also has lots of knowledge about how the bridge operates, and I think will be very helpful as we move towards the development of the bridge and using it for pedestrians rather than trains. Jim Painter, former councilman, so he helps us with how we do best to communicate with you, and we're going to work hard at lots of things are going to be happening here within the next month and a couple of years, and we want to keep a dialogue going back and forth between the two. Ron Kutra, he was an executive director with DNR and was key in negotiating with the Joneses and the planning of the creation of the Katy Trail. So I think he will help us also with the intent and who do we communicate to, who do we have questions with as we start developing the bridge. What I also have tonight is just a simple summary. I was told keep it short and sweet. Sweet I don't know about, but short I'm going to try to do. And if you'll bear with me, I'm not going to talk as much as I'm going to read so that I can be short with this, but please feel free to ask questions, or later we can have a question and answering session if that would be a better way of doing it. Our board focuses on supporting the development of the Katy Bridge for pedestrian use and also linking it to the trail. We look at building awareness, investigating other successful projects. I think that was key, and as we even thought about what we were going to do with how to select engineers and what were we looking for, down to how people had even raised money and how were they doing events to support the bridge. Researching needed information regarding bridge development, and we have just had a wealth of folks that have been very comfortable with making phone calls, talking to other folks, going on field trips with us, different things to see how other people have made this happen and hopefully save time. And then raising needed dollars. I think that is probably all in capital letters as far as the council and the city is concerned, and we're getting better at this, and in turn look to have a good journey through with different activities and ways in which we gather the dollars. From January to October of 2013, we've just so you get a feel of where we are with our dollars, we've collected over $50,952 from individual donations and also marketing tax credits. Tax credits have really boosted our income, and we are moving along, not our income, but boosted the availability of having use of the funds with the tax credit. We have $184,000 in funds at hand right now, but in addition to $5,130 that we made on our 4th annual wine walk. And we've designated the wine walk to be a way in which we raise money for insurance. When we got insurance bids, it ran around $5,000 a year once the bridge is up and people completely done and people are actually out using the bridge. And so we know the wine walk won't last as a draw for the whole time, but we're trying to make sure that we're setting aside some type of an event that always generates those dollars each year for us. Some examples of what we have spent funds on that we have raised. They've been pretty costly adventures for us and muchly needed. One being the bridge inspection. That was $40,000 for the bridge inspection. Funds to buy legal expertise as we were doing all the negotiation with UP and making sure we were using the right language and understanding what we were agreeing to. We paid for that additional attorney at $7,429.15. And then also we have funds that we have set aside for matching funds within the grant that we're working on right now. And our matching requirement is $65,400. So we're trying to plan ahead, have money set in different accounts so we know exactly where our money is and how we're going to spend it and what do we need to be anticipating for the coming year. We've received over 95 pledges, and 55 of those pledges have been honored. We have 40 pledges that are still outstanding that come to $26,495. 19 of the contributors that have bought tax credits, and if the last count that you heard was 13, we jumped to 19, so we're pleased that folks are definitely taking advantage of this, because I think as an investor in the tax credits, there's definitely a benefit for them, but in token it also then benefits back funding for the bridge. We've had 19 contributors make purchases to date, and we have $44,160 of tax credits remaining to be sold. Before the end of the year, we'll make personal contact with banks, businesses, industries, individuals, contributors for the Tax Credits and Bridge Development Fund to personally contact outstanding pledges. Also pursuing grants for with the assistance of the city. What are we looking for once we get through phase one? What are some possibilities out there? What are we needing for funding to match that? Managerial discussion on hiring professional fundraisers. We're really feeling that professional fundraiser is something that we could benefit from, and we're getting ready to put out some requests for applications so that we can see who fits and get started with strong focus on the fundraising for the phases to come. As soon as the concrete is ready to be replaced, we're going to be out selling spaces to get signatures on the bridge. It's probably one of the strongest responses we've ever had to an idea for fundraising has been this idea. We saw it when we went down to see the bridges in Little Rock, Arkansas, and they said it had been their strongest fundraiser. They had raised over $400,000 just with people paying to have their name engraved on the floor of the bridge. It looks, not only is it a nice way to honor who has helped to finance the bridge and develop it and care during the time it was happening, it also is very colorful and an interesting thing to walk and look for names as you're walking on the bridge. I think it was a great idea. That is it in a nutshell of where we are, what we have in the bank, what we in turn are holding money to support. I hope that it helped to have a little more insight, that we're just not sitting around having a wine walk, that we really are trying to anticipate as many of the turns that are coming up and appreciate your support. We would not be able to do this without the City Council of Boonville, so thank you.
Morris.
Paul, I got just one question. You mentioned insurance on the bridge. Did I misunderstand you? Did you have insurance on the bridge now? Or
No. We've been inquiring, and
right now
it looked like the policy of all the inquiries that we did. It's running about $5,000 for the year, and that we've been able to make that each time or more with our wine walk. So it also gives people a feeling that, okay, this event really has a purpose. It isn't just to go out and have fun and walk the streets of Boonville.
Well, 'cause, I mean, we need insurance on it now.
Oh, do we? Are we ready?
I mean, would you say so? I mean, somebody's got to have insurance on it.
Well, you recall Charlie Brown thought it was covered under our general policy, but I don't know if Megan has any thoughts or not, but obviously there's not any activity on it, but I suppose there's some exposure there. So.
Yeah, when we took it to Charlie, it's a piece of property of the city. We have it properly secured on both ends. We probably need to take a few additional steps to secure a couple of the other pieces, as we've talked about, in the houses and so forth. But at this point in time, there's until we start actually working on the bridge, starting next spring with workers and activities and so forth, we're probably in pretty good shape. But at that point in time, we will need to have
That
additional
was
liability
how we have been
coverage.
functioning as a coalition. We'd had this conversation earlier with Megan and had thought that we're open if in turn that needs to, and it's nice to be able to say, yes, we've already set these funds aside. So,
Are you comfortable with that, Morris?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? I think we have one comment about maybe the amount of tax
Yeah.
credits
Tax
left.
credits, you said 44, that's the amount of credit, but it's 50%, so it's really 88,000.
88,000, I'm
So
sorry,
there's
yes.
Still a significant hill to climb there, and we need to prioritize that.
How much is left needed to sell?
Approximately 88,000 in
$88,000.
That's what's
contributions,
left.
88 is what's left. yes.
which ends up being half of that for the credit
We've
itself.
certainly had interest in the last couple of days that have been very nice, and hopefully we can keep
We're a couple of nice ones
Yeah,
in there. Yes.
yeah, we've had some very nice commitments that, donations that people are doing through the tax credit.
So if anyone on the council knows someone that might be interested in this, if you feel comfortable contacting them or
We'll
have
be happy
Kate
to
or
help
Paula.
with the information of linking them in and sitting down and talking about it. It's not something you do every day, and I know a lot of people go, well, gee, I could use a tax credit, I think, but I'm not real sure how I even go about it. We have talked about maybe having some type of an open house for people that are interested in getting more information about tax credits and seeing if we can get more public in. That's part of our phase of getting ready is, one, how do we look at funds that are out there that we need to be drawing in addition to what do we need to be providing so that more funds can be generated.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I thank you for having us here tonight.
Okay,
And I
this has
thank
been
my board
good.
members that also came tonight, and we hope that you will get to meet the others as time unfolds. So, thank you.
And I understand at your meeting, you're going to be discussing frequency and context of upcoming,
Yes.
quarterly,
Yes.
something like that.
Yes, well,
Okay.
we're having our board meeting for this month next week.
Okay.
And what I'm wondering, if we didn't have a little confusion on tonight versus next week, is why we maybe are also missing some of the bases I thought were coming tonight. So,
Okay. Okay, very
Okay,
good. We'll look
thank you.
forward to your next report. Okay, item C, discuss gaming revenue annual distributions. This is Morris. is gonna
Mayor,
kick it
I
off.
asked for this to be put on the agenda based upon the declining revenue that the city is receiving from the boat. And I think it's time that the city look at how they disperse with this gaming funds and make some kind of decision on how we're going to do it this year. I've got a recommendation if the council wants to hear it, but I think we need to look at saving money that we could use in other avenues within the city limits of Boonville, of creating jobs and other things that could benefit all the citizens of Boonville. And this started out many years ago when we first got the boat. We had what we refer to now as above the line and below the line. And above the line is what we made a recommendation to the Gaming Commission when we applied for the license for the boat. So I think we need to look at going back to funding these different entities that's above the line and do away with our presentation asking for contract and stuff, which this would save a lot of man hours at City Hall. And Mary might even buy me breakfast for it. Because I think there's a lot of man hours spent by Mary, Megan, and Earl. And the council, by listening to these presentations, sending out to contracts and everything. So I would like for us to set amount, let these organizations know that they're going to receive this amount, and there's no such thing as making a contract and justifying the money, because they spend the money whether they want to, no matter what they tell us.
Right.
So they don't have to report back to us that they spent the money this way, and that would save us in a lot of different ways in income. Plus, it would set aside some money that we could use strictly for Boonville to grow with.
Okay. Any other comments from the other councilmen? Mark?
I think a year and a half ago, we talked about Earl's Top 25, and this was in it. And if I remember correctly, and I am getting old, we were going to reduce it last year and then again this year. And Earl, do you have a number for, not to put you on the spot, but...
Yeah, I think I had a 2-year phase-in. I don't know. Morris, if you want, I'll run through the numbers that you kind of put together.
You can, or I can run through them either one you want to do.
Basically, you have the law enforcement community, which he alluded to as above the line. Basically, we took last year's number, if you remember, it ended up being kind of an oddball number because we applied a percent to them, and just rounded everybody down to the next 1,000, except Mustang, and that went down to about $2,600 to an even 20,000. So last year they, well, I don't know what they added up to last year, but that would come to about 139,000. Next group, if you've got the three small cities, Blackwater, Bunston, and Pilot Grove, they were just penciled in at 1,000. I think we probably all empathize or should empathize with their circumstance. I don't know if 1,000 helps them a lot, but they seem to have indicated in the past it does. So for this scenario, that's in at 3. The YMCA, the discussion with it was to sort of recategorize it to another way of dealing with it. If you recall, that number has come down a lot over the last few years. It was up around 60, maybe even higher. Last year it was 22, and then there was a late addition of the 13 that got it back up to 35 or so. But I think the scenario had that at 20,000, and it would move from here to sort of a line item in the general fund in the Parks Department as sort of a cost of service type thing on whatever you want to conceive that they provide to the general public that we don't provide, of which we might consider it reasonable to provide. I mean, a number of things they do are fine, but they're not things that we'd ever undertake on our own. So that would probably reduce this number, but it still is $20,000, so it's got to come somewhere. So it would probably increase or reduce the decrease of the transfer to general fund. And then the below the line after that, it leaves 11 entities that last year got $9,459, so you can see the average of that's less than 1,000. Obviously, the range on those was a little wider than that. Some of them were like 2,100, and some of them were 263, numbers like that. So basically, those would just simply be eliminated. And so you would end up with the law enforcement at 139, the small cities at 30. That's 142 in this general category, plus the 20 to be covered some other way. And so that's 142. It's 162 if you count everything. Last year was 194.3. So we knock off a hair over 30,000 on that scenario. So I sure people have mixed feelings about that, but now we've discovered that the gaming tax is not inelastic as it has been for a while. And I suspect that the reduction will need to be around 5%, approaching $250,000 this year in that account. 5% doesn't sound much, but $250,000 is a bit on the margin. So.
Any comments?
Do we need to motion that in, if that's what we want to do? Does that solidify it for Earl?
I think just general consensus. I don't think we need to vote on it until
No,
the budget. Or do you want to?
No, I'll put that in the budget that way if that's the direction. The key point probably is we're not going to send out the packets for requests.
Right.
So that's sort of as a drop dead thing, whereas this thing, you can vote on it here, and then when the budget comes along, you can theoretically change it again, as has happened. So I don't know. I think there's probably a usefulness to confirming the direction at least, and I'll incorporate those numbers in there.
Well, I'll be part of the consensus. I like the approach a lot.
Okay. Any other comments? Anyone who would like to discuss an alternate to this proposal? Morris?
No, I understand.
I thought you were just waving. Oh, okay.
I'm waving at you.
Okay. Well, I think one thing we need to remember is a lot of the folks that are below the line, those are very good programs, but I don't think there's anyone there who wouldn't qualify for CIP funding. So they can always apply for CIP funding. And like Earl said, those numbers have been reduced to fairly reasonable amounts to where those could probably be absorbed into the CIP funds, if they felt that was a worthy project.
Yeah, that 10% will probably go up next year because of the information I imparted on the sales tax new participants, shall we say. But and they won't go up 9,000, but because they only get 10%, but go up $2,000-3,000 probably. So.
Okay, so by general consensus, then, we will, Earl will move forward with this and incorporate it into the budget as we start to work on that in the new year.
Mayor,
Mark?
does that include most or all of Morris's recommendations, that we throw out all of Noah's recommendations for contracts and budgeting and proof, and you okay with that, Noah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I think it will save a lot of time and effort on a lot of people's part, so, okay. Okay. Anything else on that? Okay. Reports of standing committees, tourism. Becky?
Yes, I would like for Sherry to show what she has received.
Well, we just got this in the mail. We were kind of proud of it. Midwest Living sent this to us. This is actually a tear sheet from the September-October issue. We had 3 pages in about Boonville and the Katy Trail and Warm Springs Ranch. And so actually it was worth so much to us. I can't believe they actually framed something and sent it to us. But they have 4.3 million readers. And so we were very excited that we had 3 pages in Midwest Living. And then we'll put this up maybe at City Hall for a while. An ad in Midwest Living is $127,000 a page. So for us to get 3 pages, it was really quite exciting. And not only exciting, it was very fruitful. Our phone started ringing. We were getting approximately between 2 and 4 contacts a day through the month of October. But when that many people see it, they're calling. And a lot of those will be coming back in April because they couldn't plan to get here quick enough. So anyway, we just wanted to share that.
Okay. Thank you. Good job.
And then the minutes are in your packet. One of the things that they spent, I was unable to attend the meeting, but one of the things that quite a bit of time was spent on was the bed tax, if it was to pass tomorrow. And just a reminder to get out and vote for that.
Okay. Any questions for Becky? Ned?
Morris made a comment in the last meeting about the white lights thing, and I notice here again, we've got it in these minutes, and then in today's paper. There was an article on the paper that kind of alluded to the fact, or seemed to say that we had agreed to spend money on the white lights. Morris's point in the last meeting was absolutely correct. Without approval of their budget, nothing has been approved to spend on the white lights, and I still don't think we have the information on them, do we? Do we have the contracts or anything? I mean, so
Where's the contract, was it?
this is kind of frustrating to have all this continue to come up and there's nothing there. I mean, we haven't agreed to do anything. So I'd kind of maybe at the next meeting you could make a recommendation that they not talk about it or something.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Yeah, I think we need to get some more information together, and I think everybody likes the white lights. I think everybody wants the white lights. Nobody wants to pay for the white lights.
And nobody knows who
That's
they
a
are.
problem, yeah. So, yes, there are some things to work out, some little details. So I hope it won't be worked out this year, so the lights are going to be what they are this year, but hopefully we could get them worked on, but I won't say any more about it, Ned. Okay. B, Street, Alley, and Sanitation Board. Councilman Heaton.
Yeah, the main topic was part of our new business tonight about putting a stop sign at Harley Park.
Okay. We'll have the second reading of that at the next meeting. Reports of city officials, city administrator, Earl.
Yes, I'd like to propose that we set a special meeting, it'll be a closed meeting for personnel next Monday night here at, I'd suggest 6 o'clock, if that is okay with folks.
Okay.
So,
I'll probably need a motion for that. Morris,
Mayor, I make a motion, we set a special meeting on November 11th at 6 PM,
closed session.
closed session.
Becky, second? Comments or questions? Roll call.
Kelly.
Yes.
Beach.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Ayers.
Yes.
Heaton.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
You have anything else?
no.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
you might add in your minutes on personnel, the reason for it, just so we have a record of it.
Okay. The mayor, in your packet this time, there was a resume on Susan Meadows, and she is my recommendation to fill the vacant Ward 2 council seat. She's here this evening, and I think she got to meet all the council persons. She has a very nice resume, and I think she would be a nice addition to the council. So, Noah?
As part of Ward 2, I'd like to make a motion that we approve her nomination.
Okay, thank you. Morris?
I second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Kelly.
Yes.
Beach.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Ayers.
Yes.
Heaton.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations, Susan. Yes, smile.
Get her.
She said thank you.
Thank you very much for agreeing to take this. I know midstream, it's a little hard to jump in the middle of things, but I know that you're capable of handling it, so we'll probably, as Mary, does it suit you to swear her in at the next council meeting?
That would be great.
Okay, so next council meeting, you'll be doing a little swearing in. So, okay, thank you. Morris?
Will she be able to attend the special meeting?
I don't believe so, not if she's not sworn in. I don't know.
I guess by special invitation, couldn't we invite her?
I would think it'd be in order for her to come. If
Okay.
there's any reason you can't accelerate the swearing in too.
Okay,
So,
okay. Could we swear her in before the
I
meeting?
Don't know
I don't think it has to be done in public meeting. I think it'd be done in Mary's office.
Okay. Okay, so you have a date to put on your calendar, September the 11th, 6 o'clock, and that will be here. Okay, city councilor.
Yes. I have a report to council. Councilman Beach had alerted the council to some questions and issues that had come up from the scheduled Moberly Area Economic Development Board meeting that occurred at the Isle of Capri. And I think you kind of have to start back from the beginning. Whenever you evaluate the sunshine, any issues in terms of the sunshine law, you kind of have to determine whether or not the sunshine law requirements were triggered. And I do believe they were triggered. There's three questions that really lead us to that conclusion. Question number one, was the meeting called by the MAEDC board at the Isle of Capri on October 15th with the city council persons invited, and also in attendance were county commissioners and a few other invited guests. Was that considered a public meeting? The answer to that question is yes, it is a public meeting. A public meeting is defined under the Sunshine Law as any meeting of a public governing body at which public business is discussed, decided, or public policy formulated, whether such a meeting is conducted in person or by means of other kinds of equipment. And I believe that this meeting would be considered public business was discussed. I don't believe any public policy was formulated. However, I do believe public business was discussed. That being the case, was the meeting called for the purpose of conducting public business? I believe that is in fact yes. It was called for that specific performance. And the question number 3 was the subject of the meeting one that was open to the public, i.e. was it business that should be conducted in public, not one of the 21 exempted areas for a closed meeting. And I believe that it was the subject of economic development and performance of issues relating to the MAEDC's board activities. So I do believe the sunshine law requirements were triggered. Therefore, were the procedures followed appropriately? So what are the procedures that are required to make meetings open to the public? First requirement is a notice. Was a notice posted with the time, date, place, and a tentative agenda for the meeting? It must be posted within 24 hours. And it must be in a location that we normally post, i.e. City Hall, website, those kind of things. There was a notice that was posted at City Hall by the city clerk. It got posted, the meeting was held on October 15th. The notice was posted, which I have here for anyone's review. It was posted on October 11th at 4 days in advance of the meeting. The time, date, location, and the single agenda item were included on the notice. The same notice was also published in the Boonville Daily News. And that also occurred on Monday, the 14th of October. So I do believe the posting requirements were met. There is also a second requirement regarding the notice going to the media, and it must be given at the same time it's made available to members of the governing body. Edward Lang was included on an email from the city clerk notifying the council of the meeting. So it was given in advance to the local media that requests information by email. Third requirement is that the meeting shall be open to the public for their observation in a room that is reasonably accessible, including accommodations for handicapped or disabled persons, at a time reasonably convenient to the public, and as of sufficient size to accommodate the anticipated attendance. This meeting, the seating arrangement and the meal arrangements were all set by the board secretary of the MAEDC. There did appear to be a number of seats open around the U-shaped table at the start of the meeting at the large ballroom area at the Isle of Capri. The meeting was conducted as an MAEDC board meeting in Boonville with the Boonville board member represented in attendance. Attendance was asked to be confirmed from the invited guests in advance, so it was presumed that the open seating around the table, of which there were 5 to 6 chairs open, were presumably open to the public. The room and the seatings were handicapped accessible. The time was an evening meeting at a time similar to other public meetings held in Boonville. The room was large enough to accommodate members at the table, 5 to 6 members, and other space was available to pull in additional chairs if necessary in the vicinity of the speaker. So I believe that the accommodations, the meeting accommodations, location, time, and so forth, and of a sufficient size to accommodate the anticipated attendance was set. None of the staff at the City Hall were aware that there were any persons that were attempting to or had expressed any interest in coming to the meeting. We have in the past have had that kind of forewarning, and as you all recall, in our old council chambers, we were pulling in seats at about any place you can when we anticipated a crowd to the hall. The next requirement for procedural issues was whether a public body shall allow for the recording of the open meeting by audio or videotape or other electronic means, subject to the guidelines set by the body. Edward Lang was there from the Boonville Daily News as a reporter. He was in attendance for the entire meeting and was holding his recording device and taking pictures during the meeting. I presume that he recorded the entire meeting. Public participation is not required at public gatherings except where public comment is required specifically for a particular public hearing or an evidentiary hearing. This meeting was not a public hearing. It was not an evidentiary hearing. No public comment section is required. And again, remember that this format was set by the MAADC board, their protocols, not the city council, not the IDA, and not the county commissioners. The last required item procedurally is that a journal of the minutes must be taken and prepared and retained, taken and retained. The minutes of the meeting were taken. We do have a copy of these minutes. They are not our minutes, but they will be retained by the city clerk according to her standard reporting and retention policies as a memorandum of what occurred at the meeting in public business. I believe the last issue that Ned required some information on, it was a good comment. Is there a provision for any kind of self-reporting or self-assessment of an issue regarding the Sunshine Law? And I think the answer to that is yes, on a limited basis due to time and expense. There's a couple opportunities. If somebody has a concern about a public meeting, if you're in doubt as to the legality of any kind of issue, particularly whether a meeting should be closed, whether or not it should be a closed meeting, a closed record, or a closed vote. We have two options. We can seek a formal opinion from the Attorney General, or frankly, you can seek an opinion from me. Okay, my opinion is probably just as weighty as the Attorney General. They might have a little bit more opportunities for research than I do, but you also can bring a suit in the circuit court to do something like a declaratory action. Obviously, that's expensive and takes quite a little bit of time to do. Probably this is not the kind of thing that you rely on those, the latter two. But my consultation was sought in this particular situation, and I made the recommendations in terms of the posting, the notice content, and the minutes to begin compliance with the law. A couple recommendations that I met, as I think that we could probably do a little bit better on in the future. We've got to recognize in advance that there may be situations when public meetings need to be held in something other than locations of the city council chambers. We hope not to do that very often, but it will occur. And we also have situations where it might occur with something other than our standard meetings. We do contract with entities that we need to work with and conduct business, and whether it be business or charitable or other activities. Each one of those situations should be evaluated to assure that we meet the requirements of the Sunshine Law. I think this is a very important issue for us, our community, and you should always look at those things. We do have a training manual that we have prepared for the Sunshine Law, and I think that it would probably be important to give a copy of that to the people that we contract with, and we have not done that yet. So I think that's something that we can do out of the city clerk's office. When we do meetings such as this that are kind of outside the normal location, normal arrangements, someone else is making the room arrangements, for example, every attempt should be made to have that go through either the city clerk or the mayor. Those folks are in tune with making people feel wanted, accommodated, and we can make sure that the rooms are set up if we know in advance that there are special requirements either for persons in attendance. And I encourage anybody who has knowledge of any issues of public accessibility, or if you know that you would anticipate a large crowd, or even that somebody may want to address the council on the issue that's being spoken about, and we have not made prior arrangements for a public comment, that would be helpful. And that's my summary and recommendations.
Okay. Thank you, Megan. Ned?
I think we need to say a thank you to Mary and Megan. In listening to your analysis, Megan, if you and she had not taken the actions that you'd taken on Friday, this meeting would not have qualified. And so I think it was the City of Boonville that prevented this. from being a violation of the Sunshine Law. And I think that needs to be said out loud. And I thank you and I thank Mary for having done that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, did you have anything else, Megan?
I think that's all this evening.
Okay, city clerk?
I have nothing to report.
Miscellaneous. Morris?
Only thing I like to encourage the citizens of Boonville and Cooper County to get out and vote tomorrow.
Okay.
This is a very important election for the city of Boonville, and we stand greatly to benefit from this annexation. So I hope it passes and encourage everyone to get out and vote.
Okay. And
Well
also
said.
on the bed tax.
Yes, well said.
Okay? Yes.
I hope this is appropriate. ML, the contractor's on 11th Street. They had all kinds of holes in the curbs and the gutters on Halloween night that were kind of, sort of protected. And then tonight, I had a meeting and then went back to the house and tried to go on. It was just impossible to even try to go on 11th Street. As one citizen remarked to me, who are those idiots and who's in charge of them? They need to be talked to. This was just an incredibly bad performance by a contractor for the city of Boonville. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I was out of breakfast, but I got some.